we're seeing that this real world asset evolution and growth path to tokenizing really anything that can be valued, stored, have legal provenance, you can actually tokenize anything from real estate to royalties.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Valerium CEO Nick Cohen. Nick, very good to meet you. Congratulations on your admission to the Apex segment of the Aquis Exchange. Before we get into the benefits of that, for viewers not familiar with the company, tell us a little bit about Valerium.
Yeah, Valerium PLC is a tokenization company. That's what we're focused on, and we focus on really two core areas: tokenization technologies. We're a technology solutions company, and we're also a market operator, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Which is we operate tokenized marketplaces. And look, the view of Valerium that this is we've been doing this now for about 5 years in terms of when we really started to look at tokenization. And you've seen probably in 2024 as the breakthrough year where there seems to be now some serious mainstream adoption and awareness that's coming through. So I think we're in a good place.
And also in a very good place with Aquis as well. So take us through some of the benefits of moving up to the Apex segment of the market.
Yeah, look, obviously Aquis have just had a big piece of news anyway, but prior to that, we were on the access market, and the access market is the lowest market for sort of startup type companies. We had reached the threshold of 10 million market cap, which you need to be on for about 3 months in order to go up to Apex. Apex just provides that greater degree of often comfort and confidence for investors because of the additional requirements and the size of the company. And so we applied to go up to Apex a few months ago, and we were accepted a couple of weeks ago, which is fantastic. So we're now on that next market up.
Nick, you talked about 2024 being a breakthrough year for the company. You were out with your half-year results a couple of months ago, and it really was a turning point in terms of profitability, in terms of assets, and in terms of like the cash that you generated and the cash that you ended the period with. Take us through some of the drivers of that growth.
Yeah, I think, look, the first thing to actually make absolutely clear is a lot of the value creation was through a minority shareholding we have. And funny enough, another Aquis company called Vinance. We hold a minority stake, around 27 million shares. They are a Bitcoin miner. So, of course, that company has been benefiting from the recent developments in Bitcoin. So a lot of our increase in terms of balance sheet value came from holding that share position. But otherwise, look, Valerium was all about trying to integrate the GSX group. We laid out in February 24, our vision and our milestones that we're going to try to achieve, not just in 24, but also into 25 and 26. And look, I'm pleased to report that those milestones are completely on schedule. Some of them had some unknowns around it, particularly when you're applying for licenses from regulators and stuff like that. But we've hit the milestones, and so far, we are on completely the right track. So I think we're set, for a really exciting 25 and 26.
Nick, where are you seeing? I mean, you mentioned you're also a market operator. Where are you seeing opportunities in the market at the moment?
Well, we think obviously tokenization and more specifically real world assets. We've seen real world assets really exploding in terms of awareness. And it was probably started in many ways by the awareness increasing. Boston Consulting came out with this fantastic report, I think about 18 months ago, where they're talking about sort of up to $68 trillion opportunity in tokenization by 2030, 10% of global GDP. You've had BlackRock, Larry Fink talking about tokenization being the game changer. And I think this overall awareness, I think, is really helping us. But in terms of the specific opportunities and the specific developments, absolutely, we're seeing that this real world asset evolution and growth path to tokenizing really anything that can be valued, stored, have legal provenance, you can actually tokenize anything from real estate to royalties. So, and this is now really, we just saw a report yesterday of a new uplift in terms of assets being tokenized in terms of real world assets. You're going to see explosive growth in our view over the next 5 years.
I mean, following the end of your reporting period, you've also been awarded a digital asset service provider license. That's in El Salvador. And more recently, you also launched VLRM Capital Management. Tell us a little bit about that and the prospects there.
Yeah, we had started really looking for a jurisdiction that shared our, in many ways shared our ethos and our culture and enthusiasm. And we really, really found in El Salvador a just fantastic setup there. Not only are they going through a lot of changes at a macro level within the country, and BTC is legal tender there, but they have also started a new regulator called CNAD. And the regulator, what tends to happen is regulators are often, as you can imagine, run by regulators. What they did with CNAD, set up by the government, was they have a regulator that's actually, they brought in a technologist to run the regulator. So you have a technologist who really, really understands the underlying core infrastructure technology. And then also they have a really broad team of top regulators. So we found there, when we talked about our vision in terms of what Valerian PLC is all about, we found a very, very, very supportive regulator, great reception, equally as tough as every other regulator. But you can actually have a really constructive conversation about our goals and objectives so that they could come on the journey with us. And we've been genuinely just A, impressed, but B, privileged to have received our license. I think it's in September, and that allows us to operate a tokenized marketplace, but also operate as a broker, operate as a custodian, manage fiat on and off rails. So we've got a whole broad spectrum, a canvas of licenses there, which really allow us to scale up next year. In terms of Valerian Capital, so we've got three verticals: Valerian Technology, Valerian Markets, and Valerian Capital. Valerian Capital is the asset management business, and that's I look after that as well as being the group CEO. And that is an asset management business where we'll manage third-party capital to basically invest in everything, but really with a core focus in terms of tokenization opportunities as we see them over the next few years.
Any upcoming milestones, Nick, that an investor should be looking out for?
Well, we've got milestone one is the release of the V Wallet, the Valerian Wallet. We're in what's called soft launch at the moment, where we have a small group of people testing. That gets expanded during December, and then we hope to hard launch the V Wallet before the end of this year. The second milestone is our core tokenization infrastructure, which is what Valerian is all about, which is T-Instant settlement. We call it the bridge. It's digital financial markets infrastructure. We've been working on that for 5 years, and we released the demo version finally during December. So we'll be able to actually start to really showcase, the world about what we've been working on behind the scenes all this time, which we're really excited about. And then also for opening the real world asset marketplace. So the pipeline is building. We want to get the marketplace in El Salvador open to get product starting to push through the marketplace there. So there's a lot of stuff that we're looking to get done. And that's just, between now and the end of this year before we go into 25.
Nick, I hope you'll keep us posted on any progress. Thank you very much for the introduction today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's Valerian CEO Nick Khan.